WRKS Pickens Jackson.
Are you ready? Yes!
Now live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
You are listening to
Mississippi's '1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
We'll have some Brent Venables audio. Most of you don't know who that is. He's the head football coach for the University of Oklahoma, who will be an SEC member in 2024. Don't know how much longer he'll be there after that. But I bet it was a sobering night for Brent Venables and Steve Sarkisian, the two head coaches for Oklahoma and Texas. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Brought to you by the Bacon Barbecue Shrimp and Bourbon. Let's go Long Branch Bourbon at Kessler Prime and the Renaissance. Visit KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. We were talking about bacon appetizers earlier, and they also have one, and it's delicious. So maybe I should have said, maybe I did say it. Bacon, barbecue shrimp, bourbon, Triple B. Brought to you by Kessler Prime and the Renaissance. We're streaming live on the zone1059.com. This is 1059 The Zone ESPN. Our Ben Nelson Golf and Outdoor caller line is 601-707-3750. Twitter handle at BoBounds. And our Ag Up Equipment text line is 601-885-3776. Somebody asked on the text line, yeah, so Patron is one of our partners. It's the number one selling tequila in the world. There's a reason. It's 100% blue agave. It's super premium tequila. It's not what you shot at 20 years old in college. This is on the rocks, an orange. This is Patron Silver and grapefruit with the lime. The Extra Añejo has a bourbon flavor profile. It is delicious. You don't have to have anything on it, or you can do an orange or even a lime. But try it out at your local wine and spirits store. Briarwood Wine and Spirits has Patron, Reposado, Silver, Añejo. And you definitely want to find a spot where you can find Extra Añejo because it's aged 3, 4, 5 plus years. That's why it's got that bourbon kind of style, flavor, and nose. I love it. Patron Extra Añejo is delicious. But somebody asked about it. Yes, we're glad to partner with them. If you're watching the show right now on YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. You can see the beautiful green silver Patron box on the set. And I also have, I don't know if that's Reposado or Añejo over there on my left, but it would be on your right if you're watching the show in this super cool studio set, Out of Bounds set that we built a few years ago. So, and I've got that Tito's Vodka helmet over there on the left, your right, and that's really cool. Isn't that a sharp helmet?
Yeah, I'm going to need to put that on one of these days,
Well,
at least just to take a picture. You know, as a thumper, I feel like I deserve to wear that helmet at least once.
You know, I thought about that on Monday. You're right. You do need to put that on and wear it during a segment. We'll have to get some camera time. You know, I thought Monday about going ahead and giving you a nickname because I've given my producers nicknames over the years. But I thought about going Thumper, but I thought it was too early. You know, we got to see how this thing, got to marinate, see how this thing plays out. It is on the board.
Okay.
Thumper is on the board.
Fair enough. I mean, it kind of gives me Bambi vibes a little bit. It makes me think that you think that I'm like a little rabbit or whatever. But also I think
Who's Bambi?
Do you remember the movie? I think it came out in like 1950, the Disney movie Bambi. There's the rabbit character. His name is Thumper.
Got it.
And he like
got it. I
kicks
wasn't
his foot a
following.
lot.
Now I am.
Yeah. See,
Sorry.
So That's what the first thing when I hear Thumper, I do think kind of like.
See, I think high school football.
Okay.
I think a dude that's can squat the weight room, came out of the womb with thick legs and calves.
Yeah, check.
Got that backside on him, right? And a dude that can get low and get in that, get that pad level where he needs and smoke the, I guess, tailback since there aren't any fullbacks anymore.
Yeah.
You that's all you've ever known. But when I was growing up, man, people went crazy over fullbacks in the 60s and I wasn't growing up in the 60s, but 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then boom, went away.
You'd be surprised. In 4th grade through 6th grade, we had a fullback.
Yeah, that's true. I remember 5th and 6th grade football, and we had a fullback too. Of course, that was back when fullbacks were still prevalent and, the craze.
Right.
And there's a lot of thumper in a fullback.
Oh, for sure.
Just like a lot. I mean, there was a lot of collisions, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's what football was coming out of 1960. I mean, Jim Brown, he was so great and so athletic, but I mean, he could have been, I guess back then we were kind of labeled as halfbacks, but Jim Brown could be a tailback or a fullback. There's so many of them that could, like Franco Harris. You probably don't remember him, but Franco Harris could be, and I guess he was still considered a halfback to a certain extent, but tailback, halfback, fullback. But thumpers can be fullbacks too. Mike Allstott.
Oh, yeah.
Thumper.
Yeah, that guy.
Daryl Moose Johnson. Thumper.
Yeah. Those are refrigerators that you're naming.
I need to ask our listeners, who's the best fullback to ever go to Mississippi State and Ole Miss? I mean, I can think of several good ones, but who is the best one? The best fullback to ever play in Oxford? Some people are going to go back to Vaught. I know that. And then, of course, yeah. And then in Starkville. Sherrill played a fullback. He did. Fred McCrary. Were Kenny Williamson and Todd Morris on those teams? Or did they just miss Sherrill? I think they got a year or so of Sherrill. 91. Sherrill's first year was 91. He beat Texas. Somehow he lost to Memphis. No, 92 he lost. No. 91 he lost to Memphis. That's right. I was at that game in Starkville. Because my freshman year in 92, we went to Memphis. That's the last time I've been to the Liberty Bowl. Not going back.
Wow, never?
No.
Come on, it's AutoZone. It's the AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
I didn't know that. I know it's AutoZone Park, but and it may be Liberty Bowl too. But here's what happened. 91 Liberty Bowl. Somehow it dropped to negative 24 degrees. And Air Force beat the stew out of Mississippi State. Okay? Speaking of thumpers. Okay? What's that guy's name? Ketty Dornbush or Thorn? Yeah. I mean, he's from Vicksburg or somewhere in the area. Anyway, Air Force had a bunch of tough dudes, and it was their Super Bowl. And Mississippi State players had been patted on the back because they won the Egg Bowl for the first time in a while. And they had won 7 games, and they had beat Texas. And I think Sherrill beat Jason Auburn that year. And Pat Dye. And this is when Auburn was rolling. This is before Bama caught the kid on the tape and made sure Dye got fired and all that. And so they were celebrated all during December, like nobody's business, because Sherrill had, won 7 games, and it was a big deal. And they no-showed, and Air Force brought the thunder, and I sat in the end zone and froze my you-know-what off. And I said then I wasn't going back. The next year I'm a freshman, I go back, and it was the first game of the year. So it was about 100. It went from, no kidding, it went from negative 25 degrees at the Liberty Bowl to 147 degrees in that dump.
Woof.
Yes.
Woof.
And I just said I'm never going back. And then the next year I went with my Ole Miss buddies, but I stayed at the Peabody and with some buds and let them go to the game. Dave Bartu, 9:30 on the SEC football schedule. this song always cracks me up when it's our intro song coming in from a break. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Let me give you the 2024 SEC football schedule. Ole Miss, 2024, Texas and Oklahoma are in the league. All right? Not this year, but next. So it'll be here before we know it. I know you're excited about this year, and you should be. Well, I say that. Both teams pull LSU and Bama early. We're going to have to hang in there. Talking about riding a 5,000-pound bull. I mean, it's already the most difficult division by a million miles in college football. And people don't talk about that enough. Kirk Herbstreit, Joel Klatt, all these guys who are national don't talk about it enough. Now, I will say Marty Smith does. He's the one guy that talks about how brutal the SEC West football gauntlet is. It's not even close. That's why Oklahoma and Texas are in for a rude awakening. But let's go over this Ole Miss schedule for our listeners and Jason. Show is brought to you by Rick's Pro Truck, our friends at RPT in Gluckstadt, Rick's Pro Truck in Flowood, and RPT Commercial in Pearl. ricksprotruck.com. Accessorize your Jeep, truck, SUV. And they do so much more. Ole Miss, 2024 schedule. MSU at home. Georgia at home. Kentucky at home. Boomer Sooner at home. Toughest game, obviously, Georgia. Second toughest game at home, Mississippi State. All right, road games. At LSU, brutal. Especially now that they have a real coach. I mean, think about that. They went from 2006. 2006 till Brian Kelly getting there without a real coach. Les Miles, Ed Ogeron. Anyway, at LSU, this is the Ole Miss schedule. 2024. At LSU, at Arkansas, at Florida. Question. Will Billy Napier have that program up and running by then? At South Carolina. I think Beamer will do what Sam Pittman did. He'll start to trend the other way. Everybody got excited. The players like playing for him. I admire all that. He's won some. He's taken advantage of some teams being down. When they beat Dan Mullen in Florida and Mullins last year, that was huge. The wheels had fallen off, but still, take advantage of it. Mississippi State and Ole Miss has done that with Auburn and A&M and LSU at times, depending on what's going on. But will Florida have turned it around by the time Ole Miss has to go to Gainesville in 2024? They have to go to South Carolina. South Carolina basically mirrors Ole Miss in recruiting. But Ole Miss has a better coach. A much, much better head coach. Now, the game's in Columbia, and they like it, and they put 80,000 people in their stadium, which is incredible to me. It's a terrible place to take in a game. It's all asphalt. It's so hot. I mean, unless you play them, I don't know when Ole Miss is going to play them, but I mean, if Ole Miss plays them November 10th, you won't have to worry about this. But the last time I was there, it was in September for a Mississippi State game, and there's no tailgating, there's no restaurants, there's no bars, there's no air conditioning. It's fairgrounds or something. It's just parking lot around Williams Brice Stadium. Thank you. William Brice Stadium. Yeah. Can't believe I pulled that. So Ole Miss will go there. Let me go through that again. MSU, Georgia, Kentucky, Oklahoma. That's their new team. At LSU, at Arkansas, at Florida, at South Carolina. Pittman could be coaching for his job in 2 years. Now, granted, they did just load him up with tons of money, $40 million. Not as much as Kiffin. Kiffin's guaranteed $54 million. But Arkansas had to fork it. He's had just enough success where they had to pay him. And I get it. I get why he wanted to. I don't blame the man for wanting to get paid. Heck, the PGA wanted to get paid, so they jumped in bed with Saudi Arabia. But Pittman, they went back and forth for me. It wasn't like Ole Miss. Ole Miss went straight in because they thought Auburn was going to offer, and I get it. They had to do it, and they just anteed up. I mean, they backed up the truck. Arkansas and Pittman, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We'll go Mississippi State 2024 schedule. Texas A&M at home, Arkansas at home, Florida at home, Missouri at home. You know what? All 4 of those games are winnable. You're not going to win all 4, but they're all winnable. A&M at home. You've had the best of them for a while. Arkansas at home. Florida at home. Dan Mullen beats you at home. That's the last time Florida's been there. Joe Moorhead's first year was 2018. And Missouri at home. Now, that's a good pool. If you're not going to get Kentucky, to get Missouri's a good pool. Ole Miss lost Vanderbilt in the 2024 schedule, which is the greatest pool in the history of the SEC West. That's why Ole Miss had the easiest schedule the last 30 years in the SEC West, although the schedule overall is is very, very difficult for everybody. Now, road games for MSU, Jason, in 2024. At Ole Miss, at Georgia, doesn't matter where you play Georgia, but at Georgia, at Tennessee, tough place to play, Rocky Top. Rocky Top's a tougher place to play than the Swamp.
Oh, I believe it.
They love it more.
Yeah.
Now, I know Florida has the 3 natties, and it's a bigger, more shinier, rich, cooler uniforms, all that. More Heismans, blah, blah, blah. But Tennessee loves it more. I mean, as soon as Florida starts losing, it's transient. There's things to do. They don't show up. Tennessee loves their Rocky Top and their Vols. Let me start over again. At Ole Miss, at Georgia, at Tennessee, at Texas. The road schedule's brutal. I mean, is there a win there? I mean, you'd have to up. I know you just upset Ole Miss. Yes, Mississippi State and Ole Miss can win on each other's home field. They've just done that the last couple of years. I get it. But, at Georgia, no. All right, so then you're at Tennessee, which I think Heupel's going to really keep them in that 7-10. They're not going to bottom out. I don't see Derek Dooley, Jeremy Pruitt type stuff from Tennessee going forward, which is not good. You want some of these other teams to have crappy coaches so that you can take advantage if you're Ole Miss or Mississippi State.
Of course.
Right. Okay. I mean, you want more Gene Chiswick's, Brian Harson's, Derek Dooley's, Will Muschamp at South Carolina. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You're not really – it's not trending that Hugh Freeze is a dude at Auburn. Okay, so Auburn, even though Harsin can coach, it just wasn't the right fit, but major upgrade. And then Josh Heupel, big-time upgrade at Tennessee. And then at Texas. I don't know what to do. Texas is a top 10 recruiter, but most of the time they don't play like a top 10 recruiter. And also, will Ole Miss and Mississippi State be breaking in a new QB? Walker, Howard for Ole Miss, if Dart and Sanders go their separate ways into the NFL. And for Mississippi State, even though Will Rogers has a COVID year, will he go ahead and wrap it up? And will Mississippi State be breaking in a new quarterback in 2024? So with this new schedule, Mississippi State and Ole Miss could not only have kind of a new scheduling format, but 2 new quarterbacks for Kiffin and Arnett in 2024. Mm-hmm. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Rick's Pro Truck and Mosquito Joe. Make outside fun again. You want to host throughout the summer, and you don't want mosquitoes on your neck and ankles or anywhere else. Jackson.mosquitojoe.com. The Out of Bounds Show is powered by Mosquito Joe. SEC Insider Hit coming up next.